Okay, welcome to this week's edition of Paper Crafting with Tracy. Today we are going to be featuring the Petal Palette stamp set. So we're going to be making this card here. And this one here with the chickadee. Okay, so the stamp set comes in, it's a two case stamp set. With all your images mostly in one and your sentiments in another, apart from this last one. And then there is also coordinating petals and more Thinlit dies, like so, which we will be using today. Okay, so we're going to start with this one here. So I will get my card base, which is in basic black. And the Daffodil Delight. Okay, and I've got one for the inside as well. But now we need to get the Whisper Right to emboss it. So there is also an embossing folder that goes with it. You see that there better on the black. So I'm going to send this piece of Whisper White through the Big Shot to emboss it. And all I did was line it up on the one side. And actually, I did it the other way, like so, and then send it through. And when you send embossing folders through, always have it so that the fold or the writing is facing you proper, and that way it doesn't break your folders. So I will send that through. Big Shot. There we go. And now we will stamp our image here. So I'll just get a piece of Whisper White, and I'm using the stamping blends again today. Again, in the Daffodil Delight, I've got the light and the dark, and then I'm using the Old Olive for the leaves. Just move that one aside. I've got a piece of Whisper White here that I'm going to stamp, and I'm stamping them with the basic gray. Or sorry, not basic gray. I'm stamping up a smoky slate. So I'll just ink up my. It doesn't matter how it goes because it's going to be cut out. There we go. Just put that aside, and then I will color it with my blends here. Okay. So just kind of got to pay attention as to what is leaves, what is flowers. I love these blends, they color so nicely. Okay, so that's the Old Olive, and then I started with the light. And with these blends, as I've shown you before, one is a painting end and the other is a fine tip, which I don't want the fine tip today, I want the painting, otherwise we'll be here for a long time. And we'll just color it in. Okay, and as always, I invite you to please like the Facebook page, Paper Crafting with Tracy, as well as you can find all the videos on YouTube, Paper Crafting with Tracy, and just if you can subscribe just to help build my customers or my viewers. And I'm working on a blog as well, which is Paper Crafting with Tracy at blogspot.com. So there we go. We got the light Daffodil Delight. And then I used the darker one just to kind of come along the edges on the bases a little bit. Kind of a bit in the shadows. There we go. Okay, so we will get the coordinating die for this, and I will send that through the Big Shot. There we go. So now we've got our pieces. Oh, and the other piece we need through the Big Shot is a piece of this Daffodil Delight here. And we're just going to build a frame. So I'll send that through the Big Shot as well. And okay, and then I've just got to stamp that. So for stamping that, I just used the Memento Black just to get a nice crisp, which I've got to re-ink my Memento Black, but it'll work for today. So just line it all up in the center. There we go. Cover that up before I end up getting ink on something. Oops. Okay, so now we're going to, oh, see, there we go. But that's okay, paper always has two sides, so I'll just use the other one. So now we will build a card. Sorry about that, I haven't had breakfast yet this morning. A little earlier this week because we have a fishing derby that we're going to be in. Okay. And then we'll just, you could raise this with some dimensionals, but for this one I chose not to. Put that on my base, and now I will raise the sentiment. There we go. Now for the inside, I'll take a piece of Whisper White again. And this time I'm using this one, and rather than the blends don't work for coloring the stamp, and I wanted two different ones, so I'm just going to go back to the markers. And I'm just going to, oops, color it. Okay, and then as I showed you last week, after you color them, huff on them, and then I'll stick that. There we have it. And now I'll just And there is our card, completed. So I'll put that one aside. Cover up my ink. Okay, so that is the first card. Now we'll go on to this card right here. Looks like I've gone all crooked again. Okay, so our card base is Whisper White for this, which I'm going to keep aside for a moment. What we're going to start with is stamping all of these little bits first. So let's just get some paper here, some Whisper White, and we'll start with the chickadee. I love this chickadee. I find they have such character. So we're using the Memento again. So it doesn't have to be centered because, again, it's going through the Big Shot. So, cover that. I'll need that later. And then we have the flowers. Okay, this little flower here. Now, for this, the card base and everything that we're using is Calypso Coral, which I've used before. Okay, but I didn't want to make it too dark. So I'm just going to off stamp and then stamp on here. Don't worry about that little piece there because it'll come off when I... Okay. So we don't need the ink anymore. So I'll just move that aside. And now I will send these through the Big Shot. While I'm at it, I'm going to send a piece of Calypso Coral through this ledge, or lacy edge. And I'm also going to send a piece of Old Olive through with the leaves. So I'll just get my piece of Old Olive here, and I'll send that through. So I will go put those through the Big Shot. So there's my leaves. And my flowers. Okay, so now it's assembly. So the first thing I need to do, as always, is stamp. So I'm going to stamp this first, just in case you make a mistake and then the whole thing is not ruined. So my card is a bit on an angle, but I want the writing up and down. There we go. And now I will build it. Because the pieces overlap between the Calypso Coral and this Whisper White, that is why we need to put this on the base first. Okay. So when I've got it positioned, you can see my phrase is pretty close. And then I'm actually going to put this on my card. And build up. So the next thing I need to do, which I forgot to grab some scissors, let me just grab those. So we need to cut this in half. Okay. And now for gluing these, the easiest way is if you have one of these silicone mats, just move some stuff out of the way, and we take some of this multi-purpose glue and a sponge. You don't need a lot. Just get some glue on the end, and then all I'm going to do is glue it that way. Line it up. And then we'll do the same with this one. I might have enough glue on there. I do. I'll line it up down here. That one I didn't put enough on. Okay. And now the tree. A different glue here. There we go. And now you can see how it glues up. Just be careful though, because everything sticks. There we go. Now I'm going to move that aside before we get more on it. And we'll just position the flowers. I wasn't too worried about that little bit sticking up because the flowers will help hold it down. And we'll put one about here. Okay, so there's the front. And then what I didn't do on my demo one, but I will on this one, is we'll just add a little bit to the inside. Nothing too fancy. And there we have it. Our card is complete. Okay, so our 2 cards for today. using the Petal Palette stamp set with coordinating Thinlits and embossing folder. I hope you enjoyed today's demonstration. I invite you to please check out my website for all the latest promotions that Stampin' Up! Is offering. The hostess code for this week is here, as well as please make sure you like my Facebook page, Paper Crafting with Tracy, so that you can be entered into a draw, as well as subscribe to the YouTube channel, Paper Crafting with Tracy. Have a great day, and see you next week.